Welcome back to Barrel Banter. Banter,
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 banter.
banter. This is Payton, and I'm joined by my good buddy Jared, and
Yeah.
we are missing Will today.
Again.
Again, he had some pressing, official, top secret government business to take care of, so he will be sitting this one out. We miss you, Will, but it's just two of the three horsemen today.
Yep, that's right. Another one for Will missing out. Apparently, excuses. But that's all right. That's all right. We'll move on and live on, right? So, but yeah, glad to have you here too, Peyton. And we got, you know, there's some things happening in the sports world. I wouldn't say anything super crazy, except for maybe like
Yeah.
the Masters is going on right now, which I know a ton of people love. But what I'm most looking forward to in the sports world in the coming up future is next weekend's Chinese Grand Prix in the Formula One world. There
Yes,
are
it's finally
a
back.
finally back first race since pre-COVID, and I think there's a lot of exciting storylines surrounding this upcoming race.
Mhm.
So, is that something you want to jump on into and get discussing, Peyton?
Yeah, let's do it. So the last race was 2019, I believe. That's
Mm-hmm.
correct, right?
Yep.
So obviously, a lot of things have changed in Formula One. We have completely different regulations, bigger tires, bigger rims, bigger cars. Um, and so I think they've had a different racing league there like once or twice a year since Formula One's been there. So long story short, the main question mark and issue is the tarmac, and there was a lot of bumps on the track because it is built on swampland. So everything's shuffling and moving and stuff. So they've worked on trying to flatten that out since these new regulation cars, obviously, from what we've seen, can't handle even like a quarter-inch curb. So
Mm-hmm.
it'll be interesting to see, and if the tarmac's going to be rough, how the tires are going to do. There's a lot of question marks, Jared.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I believe that the teams and even Pirelli, the tire providers, are treating this 2024 Chinese Grand Prix as a new circuit. With the amount of
Yes.
unknowns because of the new regulations of cars have never raced there, like you said, bigger tires. I think there's some stuff that Pirelli came out and said they don't even really know. They don't have enough data to necessarily know if they're picking the right tire compounds for this weekend. So, which like
We're
is
going to get a five stopper.
which is the same, that goes into any new race. So it's not
Yeah.
like out of the realms for them to be in a position like that, but it really does show that it could be a crazy weekend. We could have some
Yeah.
exciting stuff. Or it could be run of the mill, just as advertised Formula One season as well. But overall, I believe that a return to China, which I know some people do really enjoy as a good circuit, it's a funky circuit.
Hmm.
Just gets me excited because there's some unknowns and just some kind of factors that we all get to figure out together. On top of the fact that not only are we looking at new cars on a track that they haven't been to in 4 or 5 years, but we're also getting the first sprint race of the 2024 season.
Woo! Let's go.
So that also brings a whole another element into it because we're talking while all the teams get to figure out a new track, they get less figuring out time by having to do a sprint shootout and a sprint race. And if you will just want to keep it rolling on new things, for 2024, the sprint format is completely different.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
I remember last year when we were doing our episodes, we were super on the fence, just like most of the F1 world, on, the formatting and, the lack of track time. And then you qualify for the Grand Prix, and then that's all screwed up. And then everybody figures it out for qualifying in the sprint. So it's definitely funky. But, yeah, interesting to see how it plays out because, this format should be better technically. But like you mentioned, Jared, we're, essentially a completely new track. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see how everybody handles it.
Yeah. So in that sprint format, I don't think. I don't think there's going to be a perfect format that'll make everybody happy in the way that the sprint works out. But last year's was on Fridays, they would do free practice one and then immediately go into qualifying for Grand Prix race on
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, which was fine in a sense because it did get some excitement in the qualifying of like, you better show up or you're not going to get um, a good grid slot, right away,
Yep.
not a lot of time to practice. But what was frustrating about it is they made Saturday its own like different day that felt really separate from the whole weekend because it was a sprint race day. The first event on Saturday was a sprint race qualifying, and then the second event
Hmm.
was a sprint race. Cool in theory, it was a mini race weekend inside of a race weekend. But what happened majority of the time was that you would have Friday qualifying race, Saturday morning qualifying for the sprint shootout, and it would be rinse and repeat the exact same picture. Like
Yep.
very little would change in terms of who was getting eliminated in Q3 and kind of the top runners. Now, some of that had to play into the fact that Max Verstappen was just utterly dominant, but there really weren't any surprises when it came to the sprint race days. So the excitement of a separate race weekend with different factors involved, a shorter race, just kind of
Hmm.
lost itself with the fact that we already knew what was going to happen because we'd watched qualifying
Yep.
the day before. So there's a new format, and it is now same Friday free practice, and then they do sprint qualifying on Friday evening, and then Saturday morning the first thing to do is a sprint race. I like that. So sprints of four. But then after the sprint race, so after there's a session in between the qualifyings, then we do race qualifying like we normally would on a Saturday, second session,
Hmm.
and then the race on Sunday. So I like it. I think it has a little bit more mix up and a better flow. But what are your thoughts on it, Peyton?
Yeah. No, I like the format. Because I guess it leaves more surprises for the sprint
Mm-hmm.
that we're doing the qualifying, same day as practice, because that's when we got the crazy mix ups, like you were mentioning on Grand Prix day. But then Saturday was what we expected it to be with the shootout and, the sprint race. So I'm hoping that this will mix up the sprint a little bit. So, maybe we will see, a Magnussen dive bomb somebody or a Sonoda if they do a hell of a qualifying and get sixth for sprint and, they just go full out,
Mm-hmm.
within reason. Now, it might have the opposite effect where everybody's super conservative because then you have to qualify for the real moneymaker of
Right.
the Grand Prix right after. So, people might take more risk or they might pump the brakes a little bit, but hopefully people take some more risk, and this way we're not getting a kind of jacked up Grand Prix on Sunday either with a couple sessions before Grand Prix qualifying. Now, are they doing the same, that when they experimented with the tire strategy on a couple sprints last year where in qualifying, like Q3 you had to do a hard tire and then
Oh
Q2 a
yeah.
medium.
No,
I
I
wonder if they're doing that.
I have no idea if any of those different qualifying formats are carrying over and
Okay.
where they'd be placed in. But yeah, what you're talking about, how they did, and I think it was just a qualifying thing where they tried new qualifying formats where, yeah, you're right. Q1 was hard tires, Q2 mediums, and
Yeah.
Q3 was softs. Just anything to mix up a strategy a little bit, force the hand of more than just saving softs and running red stripes the whole time. But I'm
Yeah.
I'm actually totally unsure if any of that's carrying over to this year.
Well, that would be cool if it did, because I really enjoyed that. Because, you know, let's say you had a Mercedes that is, for example, they're terrible on hard tire. They might not make it into
Mm-hmm.
Q2, which was awesome to put a little heat on some of the top guys instead of just okay, well let's wait around for Q3 and see if we get any surprises. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
and it,
Hopefully
it
they
did.
carry that over.
Yeah, it definitely did give a shakeup last year. I cannot remember the race and exact details, but it was something the first time they did that and qualifying Q1, Joe Yu was like top five on hard tires. And they were like, he's just a hard tire whisperer. Put Joe on hards and he'll win the race.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a little bit of a fluke, but it did get people excited about something different. So I feel like
Yeah.
some of these subtle changes that Formula One is trying to do to make some more excitement and it doesn't feel necessarily fabricated, but just the little tweaks that might make the weekend more competitive are good. But I'm also curious, like how much of it is it just a newness factor making us excited,
Hmm.
or how much is it really working?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Only time will tell.
Yeah, so either way, I think there's like I said, for the Chinese Grand Prix, you have a lot to look forward to in terms of new regulation cars on a track they haven't been to a while. Small
Hmm.
understanding of what the tarmac is going to be like. A sprint format that's new and a sprint race in general. So it's going to be a lot to look forward to. But I
Yeah.
think with the fact that we have absolutely no clue what's going to happen, I think the best thing we should do is do some predictions.
Yep. But real quick, before we start predictions,
Oh,
we haven't raced in China in so long, and I'm trying to remember the track layout. I know they have at least one long straight, but I'm pretty sure it's a pretty balanced track between like high speed and low speed corners, but I could be wrong on that.
your guess is as good as mine because unfortunately, unlike you and our other co-host Will, I don't own the Formula One game, so I don't get to participate in driving around the circuit. But I'm pulling it up here, at least just try to see what it is. But like I said, I don't
Yeah,
I
because
don't
they'll
play
give
the
us a
F1 game.
layout.
Um, but yeah, there's two DRS detection zones, so two DRS zones.
Okay. Oh yeah,
The
two long straights. Wow.
Yeah, two long straights. One obviously on the main straight and start finish, and then one on the second. Yeah, turns out of 13 into 14, and the track only has 16
Hmm.
turns. So it looks good.
Yeah, it looks pretty balanced.
I've heard that this is a good track for some historical F1 fans here. So we'll have to see how it really plays out. But yeah, been out since 2004, so this would have been the 20th year if it hasn't been skipped. The lap record is Michael Schumacher with a 1 minute 32. I don't know if that's
Nice.
just old regs won't get beat, but yeah, I'm excited for it. But like I said, I no clue what to expect.
Yeah, I don't either, but man, I forgot. There's some gnarly turns on this track. Holy
It
cow.
kind of looks like a loop to loop. Turns one, two, and three.
Yeah, yeah. That
You
first
switch
sector looks
completely
rough.
back on yourself. So
Yeah, and then we got kind of some high speed sector two, and then yeah, we got that. Oof, got a hairpin in sector three. Yeah, this is good. I think this is going to be good. It's nice and balanced, so
yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see who has the edges overall.
exactly. So I'm yeah, we'll wait and see. I'm gonna figure out the track as I watch the weekend. You'll figure out the
Yeah,
track
there you
when
go.
you log on to F1 23 later today.
Oh, I wish, man. I haven't played that in forever. Dad life changes that.
So true, so true. Respect.
Cool. All right. Well, I feel confident now to go into predictions. I needed to check that real quick.
Yeah. Now that you fully understand and can comprehend the track and the DRS zones, you now know who you're gonna pick. I appreciate that. I'm just gonna wing it.
Yep. Yeah. There you go. There you go. All right, Jared. You want to lead us off?
Yeah. So our predictions, we're gonna be predicting sprint race winner, the race quali pole sitter, and then the race winner. Now, before we jump into that, are you okay with just those being three names, or in the sprint race and the Grand Prix race, would you like to do podiums?
Mm, let's do a podium. Why
I
not?
think I think podiums too because
Yeah.
I don't want it to just be the same person for all three.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of already know who that's going to be. So yeah,
Oops.
let's make it interesting a little bit here.
Exactly, and I'll take notes so we can refer back to this in next week.
Okay.
And this will just
See
be
how
like
wrong we were.
a little me and you competition. Will doesn't get to join.
No.
So
All right.
sprint race podium P3. I have hear me out. Fernando Alonso.
P3. Okay.
P3, he's going to be putting the Aston Martin again up in a place it may not should be, but I think hot on the heels of his contract extension with Aston Martin, he's going to be feeling confident in the team. They're going to put some nitrous boost in his car. He's going to feel good. He's won China twice, kind of back at a circuit he's been at before. I see
Hmm.
Fernando on the podium, P3.
No, I like that pick, especially if they've obviously gotten better at the high speed corners this year, and as long as that didn't hamper them and how good they were last year in the slow speed, then this might really suit them. But we'll see. I like that pick though.
Who do you got, P3?
P3, I'm going to go. This is the sprint. Yeah, this is the sprint. Sergio's not aggressive enough. I'm not putting Sergio. I'm going to do. Ooh. I'm going to regret this because they don't have top line speed, but I'm going to go Lando.
All right.
Probably going
A
to regret
little,
that, but
a little McLaren in P3. Maybe they'll figure something out between now and China.
yeah.
I dig it though. All right, P2 in the sprint race. I'm going Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
I think he's going to continue good form, qualify well in the sprint shootout, and do a cheeky P2.
I'm going to go. Oh, man. I got to quit going. I got to quit going with my heart or else I'm going to not get any points on this weekend. Okay. I'm going to. All right. I'm going to go Carlos as well.
Okay.
P2. I was thinking about Charles, but I think Carlos will outperform him, and there's no way Max doesn't get a top 3 on the sprint. So,
Whoa there. Don't spoil anything, brother.
yeah, so, you know, I couldn't do it. So I'm going to go Carlos P2. He's been on an unbelievable form. He's got a extra 10th in his car because he's a little lighter now without an appendix, and it's been helping him. So I'm
It's
going
been
Carlos
working.
P2.
It's been working. And P1 should be no surprise. Mr. Saturday himself, Max Verstappen.
Yep, Max Verstappen. We can
You
move on
too.
now.
You too. We can
We
move.
don't need to defend that.
What is there to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, qualifying. This is race qualifying. This is going to be on Friday evening. So they've only done one practice session at this point. Peyton, who do you
Wait,
got
no, no, no.
pole?
It's Saturday.
Did I make that up?
Yeah, it's Saturday, isn't
You're
it?
right. I went straight back to
You went
2023
last
regs.
year.
Oh no. Oops, see, this is what happens. Formula One confuses us. They just switch everything up. You're
I
right. We
know.
just we just spent 10 minutes talking about the new format. You're right. Race qualifying Saturday. This is after the sprint race.
Unless your notes were wrong and now you're right
Nah, fam. I copied it
instead
from
of
the internet. The internet's never wrong.
oh, Inception. All right, qualifying. I'm going P3.
Whoa. No, sorry. Are we doing P3, P2, P1 in qualifying? I thought you were going to say pole sitter.
Nah, dude, come
Oh,
on.
okay. You're right.
Come on. Let's not cheat the system.
You're right. More points. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. All right, P3. I'm going Checo.
Alrighty. Checo Perez. And I am going Charles Leclerc.
Charles.
I think he's going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, especially after Sainz getting a podium in the sprint race. He knows he needs to get his qualifying under wraps, which is something that he's never had to do. And
No.
he's gonna get P3. Will he be satisfied with it? No, but he will be P3.
Yep, I think he's going to bounce back too. I mean, he is the king of qualifying, so he'll bounce back. P2, Max Verstappen.
For real?
For
All
Rizzles.
right, it is going down in digital ink. Peyton Madden says Max Verstappen P2. I'm curious where you're going with this one. My goodness. Um,
Oh, boy.
my qualifying, I am going P2 Checo Perez. I think
There you go.
Red Bull is inevitable, and they have
Yep.
the easiest chance of figuring out this track and dominating. So, in a race qualifying format, Checo's putting his car where he should be. He's been doing good form recently. Checo Perez, P2 quality.
Nice.
And pole position, Mr. Madden. What do you
Charles
got?
Leclerc.
Oh my goodness, Charles Leclerc. So you really think he's gonna bounce back and show up?
Yeah, I think he'll. Obviously, we didn't do sprint shootout, but I think he still needs a little bit more time and kind of kick his funk, and then he'll have the sprint race. And I think he'll go back to his old ways and sneaking one out on pole. Now he won't keep it, but I think he'll pull one out.
Wow, I appreciate the faith in that. I mean, a Ferrari going around China doing well, I'd love to see it. So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful for you, but I like points, and I really want to win this little one-off thing we're doing. So my quality pole sitter is going to be Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen.
Moving on, because no need to explain.
Yep, exactly.
Let's go to Sunday, the Grand Prix race. We're going to see who the podium is in the Grand Prix. Just a little refresh. Qualifying, you have Checo, Verstappen, Leclerc. I have Leclerc, Perez, Verstappen. But
Okay.
for the race, who's going to sit in P3? P3 for me is going to be Checo Perez.
Ooh. Okay.
Ooh. What about you, sir?
Interesting. P3. Oh man. I'm gonna go. Checo's such a wild card. You can't trust him, and then sometimes he surprises you. Gosh dang it. I'm gonna go Charles Leclerc, P3.
Okay, okay. Yet another pole to not Grand Prix win to pad Charles
Unfortunately.
Leclerc's stats. Love to see it, hate to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. They're getting close, but they're not quite there on race day.
And for me, P2, I'm going, and I think I'm fully on this hype train here, Carlos Sainz.
Let's go.
I think what's really going to happen is Sainz is going to qualify right behind Leclerc. He's going to have better pace. By the end of the race, he's going to nab Checo kind of towards the late laps. And we're going to
Yeah.
have Carlos Sainz coming in P2 and continuing his dominance in that
There you
Ferrari
go.
that he does not have a seat in next year.
Yep. No, I'm with you, dude. I wanted to back my boy Carlos, but just we got to mix it up a little bit and see if Charles bounce backs for the
Yeah.
points here.
So who do you got? P2 in the race.
P2 Checo.
Checo. Alrighty. I actually appreciate to see that Perez is getting some respect on his name, and he's really performing at a level that I think should be the Red Bull number two. He's putting the car exactly where it should be. Even
Yep.
though Max might say that his lap in Japan wasn't the best in quality, he was hundreds of a second behind him, barely right there in P2. Just really
Well,
doing a good
Max is gonna
job.
say that no matter what.
Fair, because Max is never satisfied, even with winning, right? So,
No.
but it's good to see that we have him, yeah, qualifying top three, race top three. So the only thing we don't have him in is a sprint race, but he can have an off moment. So
Yep.
good
I'm
to see it.
fully convinced if you put, let's say, Charles or Carlos in Max's car and you put Max in one of the Ferraris and you ask Max if he's going to win without hesitation, yep.
Yep. I mean, it's just like you look at these periods of dominance in the past. Even Mercedes, who could probably start a lap down in their dominant era and still win by a lap,
Yeah.
they didn't win as many races as Max did. Whether it was, mechanical failures or driver error. Like Max just doesn't
Sometimes
mess up.
strategy too.
Yeah, strategy. Yeah, that's the other thing is like strategy caught out, but like Red Bull's firing all cylinders and Max just doesn't mess up. So
Yep.
I don't know if that'll foreshadow who our number ones are, but my number one for the race winner, the first Chinese Grand Prix since 2019.
Logan Sargent.
Oh, absolutely not. Will he even have a car is maybe the question there. No,
Yeah.
Max Verstappen. It is a Max Verstappen victory march to, get back on the winning trend.
Yep.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I'm going Max Verstappen as well.
Max
Red
Verstappen.
Bull 1-2. Hopefully I'm wrong, but until that stops happening, I'm going to go Red Bull 1-2.
All right. Well, I'm glad we made these little predictions. I have them written down so we can go back and look at them and see, hopefully, how just magical we are at predicting everything Formula One and can
Yeah.
maybe start making some bets on it. But we'll have to see how washed our opinions are. But either way, I
Yeah.
think it'll make the weekend even more exciting. And sorry,
Should
Will,
we?
you don't get to participate.
No, he doesn't. Should we do like a biggest surprise and biggest flop or no?
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah. Why not?
since our predictions were so boring.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm totally in. You get to start though. So
Okay.
what's your biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise is going to be I'm going to say Haas, the
Okay.
team as a whole.
Biggest surprise for Peyton is Haas. Tell me why Haas.
I think that they're going to do pretty good. They're going to continue what they've been doing as far as race pace. And I think they're going to flirt around for that last point. And I think they're going to, especially Hulkenberg's going to qualify good. But I think they're going to be right in the fight with Cash App and Lance Stroll
Love
for
that.
that.
Cash App and Lance Stroll.
Yeah,
Okay. I was thinking something. I'm actually gonna change it last minute. I'm gonna go Danny Rick. Now,
nice.
my reasoning for going Danny Rick is maybe a little bit of a loophole. He can really only go up from how the season has started. If he
That is
gets
fair.
points, I think that's a good surprise. But also, Danny Rick is a former Chinese Grand Prix race winner. I believe he won the 2018 Chinese Grand Prix. So I think that little bit of
Yep,
confidence in him should really propel him. And I think Danny Rick, biggest good surprise of the Chinese Grand Prix.
I like that. I hope that one's true, man. He needs it.
He does. He does. All right. And biggest loser.
Um, I'm not gonna do. I was gonna do Mercedes, but they've been floundering, so I'm gonna go with McLaren.
Hmm.
They don't really. I know that contradicts Lando in the sprint, but sprint's kind of a different beast.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, he can still flop
I
even if he does um,
yeah
sprint well.
yeah. I just they're so far they haven't shown us that they're good on straights, and we have some very long straights in China.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we still don't know yet how good they are in the slow speed. Bahrain was a little bit of a test, and they were kind of what they do, like P6 and P8 or somewhere around there. So with those two factors, they'll be good in sector two at the high speeds, but that's only one out of three sectors. So I'm kind of nervous for them. So I could see them, you know, behind Alonso and then possibly behind George. So it
Mm-hmm.
it might be and they'll still get points, but I think it's going to be a rougher weekend for them
Yeah.
than maybe they're wanting.
No, impressive that both of your big surprise and big loser are teams. So they have to win together and lose together. We're gonna be curious to see
Yep.
on that. But um, I think maybe because the universe just seems to be working this way and trending this way. But biggest loser for me coming into this weekend, I'm gonna go James Vowles, aka Williams, aka Logan Sargent and Alex Albon, because I just have a feeling that one of them is going to get in another collision this weekend, and it's just going to be like
Mm-hmm.
the cherry on top of the horrible start and the fact that they don't have enough parts and a spare chassis yet that's not going to be ready, still to like Miami, and just having that one last shunt, I think is really going to send them. And I don't wish this on them, but I just like
Yeah.
feel like it's coming for them, and so I also feel confident in that because it doesn't matter, just one of them has to crash for the entire team to lose. So I'm going Williams.
And they could very easily do that too, because Albon has been very lazy, so to speak, as far as taking risk and not being on his A game, and then
Hmm.
you know Logan's messing up all the time, and he's never. I don't even think he raced here, outside of F1. So
Yeah.
this isn't an easy track to learn on the fly. So
But
I like
also,
that.
like, there's situations. What if Logan or Alex Albon is sniffing at points in the sprint race because they somehow qualified well with the straights and straight line
Hmm.
speed, and who knows, and they go crazy trying to get a point and then spin off and wreck it. So
Eat it.
I love that we did that. I love these predictions, and
Yeah.
I'm just curious to see how they play out for us.
Ooh, another point that I didn't think of to watch out for is I really want to see how Oscar does
Mm-hmm.
because this year so far, and then obviously last year, he has not been doing good with his tire deg. And with the unknowns on this tarmac, I'm really interested to see, like, if it's rough on the tires, he could very easily not score points with the way his race pace has been. So that could be one to keep an eye on.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think his season is a peculiar one this year because he really, he doesn't have the rookie card anymore. And I think he's been performing at a level where it's respectable and he's doing well, right? And you have
Hmm.
to still be just kind of trying to figure out the right way to put it, like cautious on him on figuring out things like tire deg and over the races that are kind of harder on tires for McLaren.
Hmm.
And he still shows that he lacks that gap to Norris, but he's still learning.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, like he could easily just fade towards the bottom of the top half of F1, the actual like top four teams, and just really not be competitive, which isn't going to help McLaren in that really tight fight for what could be P2, P3 in the constructors.
Yep.
So yeah.
No, he definitely needs to figure something out because I saw an article that he's risking being the solid number two behind Lando instead of pushing Lando. And I was thinking about that the other day because if you look at it, he's only 2 years younger than Lando, but Lando has over 100 F1 starts already.
Yep.
So that's only you know he's 2 years younger, which means that's only about 40 race difference, but yet Lando's way more experienced in that gap. So, you know, it's interesting. He's kind of behind, I don't want to say the eight balls because he could always, you know, get really better and then the offseason get even better. But, time wise, it's kind of stacked up against him. So I'm seeing how he handles the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure. So, yeah, good storyline to look out for. I mean, McLaren in general, but yeah, Oscar Piastri in the rest of the season. So, I think that's a wrap on the Chinese Grand Prix preview, Formula One in general, and I think that's the sports outlook I have for the week. Unless you have any like other pressing news or just crazy things you want to bring into the mix, like what are your final thoughts here, Peyton?
Let's real quick before we rapid fire some other sports. What do you think of silly season? We kind of got an update with Fernando
Yeah,
re-signing
yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
Aston Martin for a couple years. So you know we kind of had that long break after the whole Carlos and Lewis Hamilton thing, and the Red Bull drama has died down a little bit for now, and then we finally got a little piece with Fernando, but there's still a lot on the board. You know, that's one less open spot for Carlos. So, what are your thoughts? How do you see the rest of these drivers, breaking out? And when do you think we'll start getting some more traction before the break, or what's your thoughts, Jared?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like you said, we kind of mentioned earlier. I mentioned earlier that Fernando Alonso signed a contract extension with Aston Martin through 2026. The man will be 45 years old when that contract's up, so still going
Crazy.
strong. But yeah, that really does solidify one of the moving chairs. Kind of the could be yeah, firecrackers in the whole musical chairs mix. But Fernando Alonso is choosing to stay. So his potential links to maybe the Mercedes seat are mixed, but I think in terms of silly season, we should really be figuring out a lot of the moving parts. I think you're really going to start moving within the next month as we lead up to the break. And I know it's still a little while away after that, but like within the next 30 days, because I believe there's been rumors like Checo says he should know his future coming up
Mm-hmm.
pretty soon within the month. But also, there's some storylines I think that I wouldn't be too shocked to look out on. Will Logan Sargent make it through the end of the season? If Daniel Ricciardo doesn't get any better, there's grounds for them to make a change as well.
Yep.
Um, there's a possibility that also, Mercedes with maybe say Logan Sargent could get a Kimi Antonelli in for a little bit of a trial run in Williams before they bring him up. But all these things to say, like I think it's really going to rapid fire, and then by the summer break, like before we go into break, we're going to know. But I mean, I foresee Mercedes getting jumping on the ball, and Kimi Antonelli's in Mercedes next year because they're not getting Alonso. Um,
Yep.
and then that's the only thing I think about that's interesting though is like I foresee like Carlos Sainz going to Red Bull, but if Red Bull resigns Checo, then I would backtrack and go maybe Carlos goes to Mercedes. But even then, like I don't know, I'm
Doesn't
stuck on
sound
that
like they
one.
want him.
Yeah, I'm stuck because then I'm like, where does he go? Does he really go to stake? Like, would he really do that to stay in
Yeah.
F1?
Or
But
Williams, I've heard. Like
yeah,
it would be a shame if Carlos Sainz goes to a backmarker team next year.
right. But I mean,
But it's a real possibility.
maybe that's what you do, and you really put all your eggs in the Audi basket. But what are your thoughts? Do you have any convictions? You think someone's gonna make a change here or there? What do you got?
Yeah, I agree on the Mercedes front. I think they are gonna do Antonelli unless he just totally bombs the rest of the
Hmm.
year and the testings with them. I really think Checo's probably gonna be back at Red Bull at least for one more year. If not, I don't think they're gonna bring Carlos on just because I don't think Max would like that. So, and I don't know if they would be willing to give Carlos a 3-year contract, or maybe they would. Who knows? But yeah, I really think Carlos is probably going to end up being at a back marker, and he might as well go, stake and wait for Audi instead of doing, Williams or something. But um, on the Williams front, I don't know. Even if Logan keeps bombing, I don't know if they put Kimmy in that car towards the end of the year, just because, if I'm James, I would say, well, yeah, Logan might crash a few more times, but Kimmy very likely will crash too. So, he's also got to look out for the cap. And, how embarrassing would that be if you get docked by going over the cap just because your drivers kept wrecking? So that's an interesting plot to kind of see play out. And Danny Rick, I don't know, man. Like, even if he, let's say, ends up finishing top 10 in the driver's standing, I don't know if he still goes to Red Bull, especially if Checo doesn't fall off. So, he could very well be without a car next year. I mean, I don't see him going back to Visa Cash App, but I don't know who else would pick him up and if he would be okay with going to a Haas or Alpine or something like that. I don't know. And then, we have all these midfield drivers that haven't re-signed, and what do they do? I mean, really, they re-sign and wait another year, or they're not on the grid. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's it's going to be a weird, silly season, my friend. Very weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of like if this then that scenarios that really are stringing out, and we've been waiting for the big domino to fall, and it really hasn't yet. But I mean, you think about maybe it is. Maybe Carlos does go to stake because, like, I think we've talked about this. Like, Joe has not been doing anything to be productive. It's quietly been pretty bad this season. The storylines have been really been focused on Logan, so he's been taken away from the heat. Botas could ride off in the sunset and retirement at any moment. So it's not like I think they're really hurting to get rid of people. Like they're gonna have an opening
Yeah,
there. Danny Rick's definitely not going to Alpine because that bridge is burned, and he already tried that.
yeah,
I think Haas would have wanted him last year, but he didn't want Haas, and now Haas has seen he's not showing potential. So would they take
yeah,
that risk with him or not? And then Checo's doing everything he needs to do to stay in the Red Bull. There's no reason that they would fire him at this point. So yeah, there's way too many things, and the Carlos signs, which is really just the Lewis Hamilton move, but the Carlos signs sitting without a chair like that's or seat is really just throwing a wrench in everybody's predictions because I just need him to figure it out. He just needs to tell us where is he going,
yeah,
and that'll be
yeah,
that'll be everything else will fall into place after that.
yeah. And he's in a hurry too, and I don't really see him waiting
Yeah,
around to figure out if Checo's going to be a Red Bull or not. So,
yeah,
to your point, I think in a month we should get some dominoes falling.
yeah, 100%. So, but yeah, no, that was good. Good little silly season update, especially with Fernando getting a contract, another player falling into place. So good on that one. But yeah, so I think that now is all we got for this pod today. So, are you okay doing your final thoughts now?
Yeah, that's cool. That's
That's
cool.
cool.
Final thoughts. Outside of Formula One, we're kind of in a lull. MLB season's kind of taken off right now. A lot of teams have been sluggish. There's 4 or 5 teams that have come out the gates hot, but a lot of the teams we thought would, be at the top of the standings all year have kind of started out slow. Sorry, Jared, with Houston
Yeah, it's all right.
Astros.
It's all right.
But we got the NBA playoffs around the corner. I think they start playing tournament starts next week. Like you mentioned earlier, Masters are going on this weekend. I kept up the scoreboard, but I'm not watching because I don't want to take a nap. Can't watch golf, man. It's too boring. Other than that, we're kind of in a slower lull, if you will, on the sports year as a whole. We got the draft coming up at the end of the month, so we're kind of in this waiting game outside of MLB and Formula One.
Yeah, 100%. No, I appreciate you saying that about the Masters because my final thought was gonna be I just wanted to apologize to all the golf aficionados out there and
Yeah,
the lads that just live for this weekend. I know the Masters is a big deal. I respect it. I think it's great. Love the jacket, everything. But Will's not here, so we don't get to listen to him blab about it. And yeah, I'm
thank
not
goodness.
I'm not watching it either. So I'm glad you're saying page. But yes, I apologize to all the golf fans out there. But let's just say that your Netflix show got canceled and Formula One didn't. So
Boom.
boom, roasted. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
the
it.
tennis one's still going over y'all.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on.
yeah. That's it. That's it. So that's my final thought there. But Peyton, I appreciate us getting on the pod today.
Yeah, it's
We'll
been
have to
fun.
go get on Will and go mess with him about skipping again. Is he even a part of this podcast? Listeners, let us know down below. What do you think?
They might think he's just a special guest at this
Yeah,
point,
yeah, yeah.
honestly.
He's an occasional special guest. So,
There's
anyways,
that one guy that shows up every once in a while.
yeah. What's that? What's that? But anyways, that's all I got. This has been Barrel Banter, another podcast for y'all this week. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating, follow the show, get us on social media, Barrel Banter Pod. We're everywhere. That's what I got. This has been Jared. That's Peyton. And Barrel Banter. You've just listened to an episode of Barrel Banter Podcast. Subscribe to the show so you'll be notified every time a new episode drops. Support the show by giving us a 5-star rating and sharing with your friends. Follow us on social media at Barrel Banter Podcast.